This is the fourth part of the Exponential Application series. I'm focusing on compound continuously, which will use the formula A of t is equal to P E raised to the RT. I just call it PERT. And what I have been showing you or talking about in the other videos is that I like to count my variables so I know what I'm looking for. So I have A of t, P, R, and T. I have four variables. You may wonder why I skipped E. E is not a variable. E is actually a number that can be located in your calculator under second natural log. So let's go to our calculator so I can show you what I mean. So the blue button that says second, and then right next to the number 4, natural log. So the E will populate. If you wanted to know what the value was, you would just raise it to the first power and hit enter. So E is kind of like pi. It just goes on and on and on. Just like if we were to go to second and then this caret symbol, it's the same type of thing. So E is not a variable. It actually is a number. So that's what we're going to be referring to when we use the PERT formula. And I've mentioned before what each of the variables stand for. So you can just look at it here to see what it stands for. And let's go ahead and get started. Layton is trying to purchase a car. He invests $3,200 in a bank account that compounds continuously. So this is the key word that tells you that you're going to use this particular formula. So if it says compounds monthly, daily, or something like that, you would actually use the compound interest formula that I believe it was part 1 of this series. So make sure you're looking for keywords. Continuously is the one that refers to this formula. To continue on with the word problem, at 3.7% in 2020, how much will he have saved by 2025? So what I want to do is I want to try to find everything that I need in order to substitute it into the formula. First thing though, what exactly am I looking for? So it's typically at the end, how much will he have saved by? So that means it's going to be a future date. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for A of t. So I'm going to put a question mark there because that's what I'm trying to find, which tells me that the remaining variables should actually be found in the word problem. I see money here. This is what he's presently investing. So that is going to be P, 3,200. The rate is shown as a percent, but I know that I have to convert that to a decimal, and that's going to be 0.037. As I've shown you before, what you do is you find your decimal and you move it to the left 2 places. If there is, and then you may have to put a 0 placeholder, get rid of the percent sign. That's all you're doing when you're converting it to a decimal. Now it says in 2020, how much will he have saved by 2025? So you just have to take the difference between those 2 years. So 2025 minus 2020, and you can clearly see that's 5 years. So T is going to be 5. I take this information and I locate where they are positioned in my formula, and then I substitute accordingly. So what I'm going to have for A of t is A of t because that's what I'm trying to find. P is now going to be replaced with 3,200. E is a number, and then I'm going to raise just the E portion to 0.037 times T, which we know is 5. All I did was just took this information and I substituted it in the formula. Then what I want to do is just go to my calculator and I'm going to put it in exactly how I see it. So I have 3,200, and then I went to E and I want to raise that to 0.037 times 5. I believe it was 0.037. Yes. Okay. And that is going to give me this amount. I am talking about money. So that's $3,850.30 if you round it up. So 3,850 A of t is going to be $3,850.30. So if you've been looking at the other videos, you'll realize that what I'm going to do is show you how to find every one of these variables using the same scenario. Well, we already have the answers, but I just want to show you what it would look like. So this time, we know that based off of what we just did, A of t, which is positioned before the equal sign, is going to be $3,850.30. Our directions ask us this time to find P. So that's why P is actually highlighted in blue. So what I would want to do then is only worry about the portion that's after the P. That's what I'm going to put in the calculator. So let's go back to our calculator, and we're going to take E, which is second natural log, raise it to 0.037. And you can also just put everything in one set of parentheses with the multiplication sign in between. It'll give you the same answer had I put them in separate parentheses. So I'm going to round this to the nearest fourth. I'm going to go 4 places after the decimal. That's what I meant to say. So 1.2032. That's what's going to go over here, 1.2032. And I notice I still have a P. On this side of the equation, I have 38, 50, 30. So now what I want to do is I want to divide both sides by what's stopping P from being by itself, which is 1.2032. And I'm sorry that my pen is dragging. What I'm going to do is just take this information, put it in the calculator. So that was 38, 50, 30 divided by, and if I wanted to, I can just go up and hit enter to copy that, and now hit enter again. So that tells me that's going to be approximately $3,200 for my P. But I already knew that. Let's see, $3,200. And the reason I said I already knew that is because I'm using the same scenario from above. And I said P was 3,200, but I'm just letting you know how you can find each individual variable. And normally over to the side, what I would do is I would just go ahead and list what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for P. I'm kind of behind doing it. Normally you would do this first. And then my rate was 0.37, and then the time was 5 years. So now when I go to the next one, like I said, I already know the information. If I didn't know it, what I would do is start this little list, and I would go into my word problem and read it. And so that I'll know what I'm looking for. In this case, I'm looking for R, and I have everything else. And all I would have to do is substitute it where the actual variable is located. So for instance, A of t is to the left of the equal sign and P is to the right. So when I'm substituting, I have to make sure that I am putting it in the correct location. And that's a common error for some of you students. So what I want to do now, okay, let me just erase that, is I want to go to what is stopping my exponent this time, since that's where my variable is, from being by itself. And what's stopping it from being by itself is this 3,200. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3,200. Let's go to my calculator again. And I have 38, 50, 30 divided by 3,200. And that gives me that same number, 1.2032. 1.2032. And I'm setting this equal to E raised to the 5R power. So what I could do is, well, no, I don't want to do that. I'm going to rewrite this as a natural log. Why natural log? Because it's understood that the base of a natural log is E. So when I rewrite it, it's going to look like, and I always go to my left to write it. You don't have to write the E. It's understood when you go to your calculator, next to the number 4, it says log. It's understood that there's an E as its base. I just write it just for you to see what's going on with this, because somebody's going to ask, well, where'd the E go? So once I take my base and rewrite it, I want to put the value in parentheses, 1.2032, and that's what's on the other side of the equal sign. Then I set it equal to the exponent. Well, I noticed that R is still not by itself, so I'm going to have to divide both sides by 5. And that will give me my R. So R is going to be, so what I'm going to do is go to my calculator, type natural log, which is the LN button, and then I'm going to type in this parentheses. Oops, I already have a parentheses. Make sure you don't do that because it'll give you a different answer. 1.2032 in your parentheses, and I'm going to divide that by 5. So my rate is 0.037 if I round it. 0.037. However, as an answer, what I want to do is put it back in percent form. And in order to do that, what I do is take this decimal and move it over 2 places and then add my percent sign. So that's going to be 3.7% is my rate. And again, I already know that because if I go back up, it was mentioned in my scenario. All right, so the last thing that we're going to look for is T. We already have everything else that we need. We have the A of T, which is the 3850, 30. We have P, which is 3200. We just found the rate. Now, when you're trying to do the work, you want to keep the rate as a decimal. And now we're looking for T. What I want to do is, again, since my variable is attached to my exponent, I want to get rid of anything that is in front or behind of my exponent. So it still happens to be this 3200. So I'm going to get rid of that. And we just did the math above, and we saw that that was 1.2032. So let's go ahead and write that again. And this time we're going to rewrite it again as a log. So I go from one side of the equation to the other side and then back to my exponent. And I said log, but it's natural log is the way I'm going to write it. Natural log. And again, E is understood. I just write it just so you'll know that I had an E on the other side of the equation, setting it equal to 0.037 T. T is not by itself. So what I want to do is divide both sides by what's stopping it from being by itself. And it's 0.037. And so therefore, now when I go to my calculator, T is going to equal, and I'm going to go back over here, natural log again. This time I don't have to press the second button, 1.2032. This time I'm dividing it by 0.037. And that is 4.9, which we're going to round, since we're talking time, to 5 years. If you did 4.9, that's okay. But for the sake of our scenario, we already know that T was 5 years. Remember, it started at 2020 and then he was trying to go to 2025. So we already know that this is the answer. So I did want to show some of you who are confused by rewriting how you could also find this in the calculator. So initially, when I first started the problem, this part that's this part that's shown is really, if I want to look at it as y equals, so I'm going to go to my calculator button where it says y equal. If there's something there, just clear it out. What's on the right-hand side of the equation, which is 3200 E raised to the 0.037 T, that's what I want to type in. So 3200 E raised to the 0.037. Now, in this case, I can't use a T, so I'm going to have to use X. because I'm looking at my table and my table has X's and Y's. So if you look in front of where I just typed, there's a Y. Well, Y is equal to, in this case, 38, 50, 30. So Y is being substituted with that. So what I'm going to do is go to my table and I'm going to look. So to get to your table is second graph. And what I want to look for is where exactly is Y 38. Sorry. So if my table, like in this case, is not showing the correct number, what you want to do is you want to go to your second table set and just tell it where you want your table to start. So I'm just going to say 0. And now I can see more numbers. So if I go over to where Y is 5, well, I'm sorry, Y is 38, 50, 30, which is exactly what I was looking for here, 38, 50, 30. I will see that my X, which really is represented by T, is 5. So that's one way I could do it. Or I could wait till I got here and do the exact same thing. But this time my new Y is going to be this 1.2032. We already know the answer, so let's go ahead and where it says Y equals, we're going to put this portion in only. Go back, clear this out, and it is E raised to the 0.037 X, because again, we can't use T. Go to second graph, which is my table. Go over to Y sub 1, and I'm looking for 1.2032 or close to it. I see right here, or I can look down here at the bottom, that when Y is 1.2032, X is 5. So that's another way that if you wanted to verify your answer, you could do that. And that is when you would use PERT. Have a great one. Thumbs up, subscribe.